Good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel, J.E.M.E.D. This morning we will be gemmed up under the theme Protection and Provision by the cloud by day and the fire by night. And we will be looking at Exodus chapter 13, and it reads, The Lord said to Moses, Consecrate to me every firstborn male, the first offspring of every womb among the Israelites belong to me, whether human or animal. Then Moses said to the people, Commemorate this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, because the Lord brought you out of it with a mighty hand. Eat nothing containing yeast. Today, in the month of Aviv, you are leaving, when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites, the land he swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. You are to observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days, eat bread made without yeast, and on the seventh day, hold a festival to the Lord. Eat unleavened bread during those 7 days. Nothing with yeast in it is to be eaten, is to be seen among you, nor shall any yeast be seen anywhere within your borders. On that day, tell your sons, I do this because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. This observance will be for you like a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead that this law of the Lord is to be on your lips. For the Lord brought you out of Egypt with his mighty hand. You must keep this ordinance at the appointed time, year after year. Before we continue, I would want to stress on the fact that the Lord didn't just tell them to keep it, but they had to keep that ordinance, keep that celebration, keep the terms and the conditions of that celebration every year. And not just when they felt like, but at that particular time. There is purpose with what God says. There is purpose with adherence to what He is asking at the time. There is purpose to adhering to doing it the time He desires it. So we see that He gave details indicating that you are to do it every year at that time. Once the details come to being, there is great purpose with it, so it should be adhered to. Let's continue. Reading from verse 11. After the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you, as he promised on oath to you and your ancestors, you are to give over to the Lord the first offspring of every womb. All the firstborn males of your livestock belong to the Lord. Redeem with a lamb every firstborn donkey. But if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem every firstborn among your sons. In days to come, when your sons ask you, what does this mean? Say to them with a mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. So it's not just saying the Lord brought us out of Egypt. There is an importance with drawing reference to what Egypt represented. Egypt represented the land of slavery. What is the Lord bringing you out of? And what does it represent? Is the Lord bringing you out of poverty? And what does poverty represent for you? What does it look like? We know Egypt was a land of slavery. Does poverty look like a period of hunger for you? Does poverty look like a period of ridicule for you? What is the Lord bringing you out of? Would He be bringing you out of a relationship? What does that look like? Does it look like a season of depression? Because when you were in that relationship, it was just that toxic. Is He bringing you out of a season of a sense of inferiority? Is He bringing you out of a season of lack of purpose? What is it that the Lord is bringing you out of, and what does it represent? We overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And if we're hiding, then it's not been a blessing. And it's not full victory. It is important to share what you were brought out of, the strength of the hand of our Father who is faithful, and what it represents. What does that thing that you brought out of represents for you? What was the inflicted agony to you? With the Israelites, what was inflicted upon them was ruthless labor, slavery. When you think of slavery, you do not have choice of your own. You do as the master says, and you're whooped and beaten when you do not fulfill. You belong to someone else. What does your situation look like? What did your situation look like? Let's continue. Going from verse 17. Hold on. Nope. From verse 15. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed the firstborn of both people and animals in Egypt. This is why I sacrifice to the Lord the first male offspring of every womb and redeem each of my firstborn sons. And it will be like a sign on your hand and a symbol on your forehead that the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. So when you think of a sign on your hand and symbol on your forehead, take into account often the hand is reference to what you do. So it will be a sign with all the things that you do, that yes, I am free. I am able to do this from freedom. And a symbol on your forehead constituting remembrance. Because you know that's where the brain is. That's where memory is stored. Well, that's one of the places memory stored. Okay, we know that the GI tract, the heart, those areas also stores the memory. All right, and it is so important to realize that's actually the same place the enemy, the Antichrist, intends to mock people who have accepted him. The hand, the forehead, what you do, what you believe and think. Let's continue. And we see here that just as the final plague was the death of the firstborn, the Lord is using a direct connection with regards to how or what form of service and sacrifice he requires. So he's desiring consecration of the firstborn of the womb, firstborn males of individuals, and then firstborn of the animals. So this firstborn was taken away so that Pharaoh and the Egyptians would thrust the Israelites out. What a memory. So this same thing that marked the end of slavery, now the Lord is saying, from you, may that thing be the mark where you remember what I did. So now you give me that same thing which I used against the Egyptians. I'm now going to use it for you. So with your enemies, it was used against them, but with you, it shall be used for you. It shall be a blessing to me. Let's continue. And from verse 17, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though it was shorter. For God said, if they face war, they might change their mind and return to Egypt. So God led the people around the desert towards the Red Sea. The Israelites went up and out of Egypt, ready for battle. So sometimes the shorter way or the easiest path is not favorable, and we don't even know why, but the Lord already knows. So we see here that they were not led through the shorter path because there was a likelihood of them doing what was unfavorable to him and also to them. Fear can sometimes have us revert to our position of defeat, to our position of bondage, the same thing that the Father delivered you from. Are you now seeing it as a comfort zone? Are you about to revert? Janelle, are you about to revert? Let's continue. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him because Joseph had made the Israelites swear an oath, and he had said, God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up with you from this place. So as much as Joseph may have been forgotten by the Egyptians, Pharaoh did not remember Joseph and all he did. But we see here the Israelites remembered and they held fast to it. Although there was much resistance at the beginning, they still believed that their God will come through. And for that reason, they always held on to the word which Joseph gave, which is that God will deliver you. And when it does happen, not might, when it does happen, bring my bones along. Take my bones up from this place with you. Verse 20 says, after leaving Sukkot, they camped at Etham on the edge of the desert. By day, the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud and guide them on their way, and by night, a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or by night. And we see that here there is provision and protection. Because when you look at clouds regulate the temperature. So you know during the daytime, that's when the heat comes forth. That's when there's the sun, right? And with the sun, what can assist with cooling the day would be the cloud. The cloud is a regulator of the earth. So by day, that there was that protection against the scorching heat of the sun through the cloud. Right? So they were protected and they were provided for. And by night, you know that fire provides warmth. So there's coolness needed in the day and there was warmth needed in the night. And not only that, fire also provides the lights. And it was also protection against what could happen without it. So I pray that whatever it is that the Lord is choosing to use for your protection and your provision, that you embrace it and you submit to its purpose. Day and night, in season, out of season, may the faithfulness of the Lord prevail, and his mediums are effective. If you do a deep study on the purpose, the value, the importance of clouds, the purpose, value, importance of fire, you will understand why the Lord strategically chose it. There is so much more that could be learned when you would do a study on this, but I would leave that for you to personally review. And after you would have seen it, hopefully it motivates you to trust the intentional, greatest option that the Lord provides in your life in this season, and understand that it is well orchestrated and his plans are perfect. His ways are higher than ours, his thoughts are higher than ours. And it's to give hope and that expected, and there is no other option that would be as ideal as what the Lord gives in your situation, in your season, hold fast to it. Cloud by day, fire by night was strategically selected for the Israelites' move from Egypt. What is the Lord strategically using in your life? Thank you, Lord. Let's continue. The last verse says, neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place in front of the people. That provision and protection never left its place. The faithfulness of the Lord shall never leave its place. Are we going to submit, embrace, and uphold it? I want to thank you for being gemmed up. J.E.M.P early morning empowering devotion. Thank you for being gemmed up with me, Janelle. And I wish you a day full of provision and protection, insight and foresight, submission in the Lord. Have a blessed day.